Find a photograph of yourself at 7 years old. Don't think about it, just look. The kid in that picture has a specific haircut you don't remember asking for. They're missing a tooth. They have a favorite shirt that does not exist anymore, that they wore until it fell apart, that you could not describe under oath. They have a best friend whose last name has slipped out of your head entirely. They believe things you no longer believe. They want things you would now refuse. That child is dead. Not metaphorically. Not as a turn of phrase. Biologically, materially, atom by atom, the person in that photograph has been disassembled and reassembled into someone else, and the someone else is the one looking at the picture right now. There's almost nothing physical, mental, or emotional left of that 7-year-old. And the strangest part is that almost no adult has ever stopped to notice this happened. It was a Swedish scientist who made it impossible to ignore. In 2005, a biologist named Jonas Frisén, working at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, figured out a way to date individual cells inside a living human body. He used something nobody had thought to use: the radioactive carbon left over from above-ground nuclear weapons tests in the 1950s and early 60s. Those tests had pumped a spike of carbon-14 into the atmosphere, and every plant grown after that, every animal that ate the plants, and every human that ate the animal, absorbed a small dated stamp of that carbon into their tissues. By measuring how much carbon-14 was in a given cell, Frisén could calculate, almost like a tree ring, exactly when that cell had been born. What he found rewrote what people thought their bodies were. Your skin is roughly 4 weeks old. The cells lining your stomach are between 2 and 9 days old, which means by the time you finish digesting last week's dinner, the lining that did the digesting is already gone. The cells in your taste buds renew themselves every 10 days, which is why a flavor you hated at 12 might taste fine at 35. Red blood cells last about 4 months. The cells in your liver, around 300 days. The bones holding you upright as you read this are entirely rebuilt every 10 years, atom by cells called osteoclasts that quietly chew up the old skeleton, while osteoblasts lay down a new one in its place. You have had multiple skeletons. None of them remembers the others. The popular shorthand became every 7 years, you're a new person. That's not quite right. Different tissues turn over at very different rates. But the spirit of it is correct. Take an average across your body, and you are, very roughly, a new instance of yourself every decade, which raises an extremely old problem. In ancient Athens, the ship of the hero Theseus was kept in the harbor as a memorial. Every time a plank rotted, the Athenians replaced it. Over decades, every single plank was eventually swapped out. The philosopher Plutarch asked the obvious question: is this still the ship of Theseus? If not, when did it stop being his ship? When the first plank was replaced? The last? Halfway through? Nobody ever came up with a satisfying answer, and the puzzle has been called the ship of Theseus problem ever since. You are the ship. But what's worse is that the physical replacement is the easy part. The mental replacement is far more aggressive. Memory researchers have known for almost a century that you cannot remember most of your early childhood at all. The phenomenon is called childhood amnesia. The Canadian psychologist Carol Peterson at Memorial University has interviewed thousands of subjects and found a hard floor at around age 3.5. Below that, your memories are essentially gone. Even between 3 and 7, the memories you do have are sparse, distorted, and increasingly written over by photographs and family stories that you've started to mistake for actual recollection. By the time you're 40, your 7-year-old self isn't dead just biologically. The witness who could testify to that child's existence has also been replaced. And it gets stranger still. The personality you have right now is not the personality you had at 7, and it is also not the personality you'll have at 60. Longitudinal studies, most notably one published by Brent Roberts at the University of Illinois, have tracked tens of thousands of people across decades and found that the Big 5 personality traits, openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, extroversion, neuroticism, drift slowly but reliably across a life. People become more agreeable, more conscientious, less neurotic. The drift is so consistent that researchers now treat personality as something like a slow river rather than a fixed thing. The shy 7-year-old, the anxious teenager, the brittle young adult, the calmer 50-year-old, these are not the same person, in the same way the ship is not the same ship. Even your neurons aren't safe. For most of the 20th century, neuroscientists believed the adult human brain produced no new neurons at all. Then, in 1998, a Swedish researcher named Peter Eriksson published evidence that the hippocampus, the seat of memory, generates fresh neurons throughout life. The exact rate is still debated, but the principle is settled. Even the part of you that does the remembering is rebuilding itself while it remembers. So here's the unbearable question. If your body is replaced, your memories are replaced, your personality drifts, and your neurons turn over, what exactly is the continuous you that has been here this whole time? The Oxford philosopher Derek Parfit, in his 1984 book Reasons and Persons, gave one of the most uncomfortable answers anyone has ever proposed. He said, maybe there isn't one, maybe personal identity, the way you imagine it, a single soul-shaped thread running from the 7-year-old to the 38-year-old to the deathbed. Maybe that thing doesn't exist at all. Maybe what's actually happening is a chain of overlapping selves, each one inheriting some bits from the previous one and passing some bits on to the next one, like a relay race where each runner is also a different person. Parfit thought this should be liberating, not terrifying. If the 7-year-old is already dead, then so is the version of you who made the embarrassing mistake last week. So is the version of you who failed at the thing 5 years ago. So is the version of you who believed something painful about yourself for a decade. Those people are gone. They are as gone as the kid in the photograph. They cannot follow you forward unless you carry them, and you do not have to. Which means tomorrow's version of you is being assembled right now. Out of what you do today, your skin is being remade, your bones are being remade, your taste buds are being remade, your hippocampus is generating new neurons that don't know anything about your past failures. Yet. The 7-year-old is gone. The 30-year-old is going. The only person who actually exists is the one reading this sentence, and that person, that exact present tense person, gets to decide what the next instance of you inherits. You're not stuck with who you were. You couldn't be stuck with who you were even if you wanted to. The biology won't let you. The kid in the photograph is dead. Be tender with them. They did the best they could. But you don't owe them your future, and they were never going to make it to today anyway. What you do tomorrow is the only inheritance the next person gets.